Hello, BookTube. This is Aaron from Aaron Read a Book or Aaron Read a Book, doing Friday reads. I haven't done a Friday reads in about 20 days or so, 21 days or something. So I've accidentally, again, bought 10 books, although some of them were Secret Santa, so that doesn't count. So I'm going to quickly run through those and then run through some of the books I've read. I will start with a book that I've been buying. I've been buying one of these editions every year. This is the third year now. Every Christmas for myself, because they're a little expensive. This is like £27 at the moment or something. But it's the third and final one that I haven't got, which is the illustrated edition of The Hobbit. I've already got the Silmarillion and Lord of the Rings. I think you can just see them there. But these are such lovely editions. They've got these sort of runes on the on the pages, and they come with a map. I'll show you the map. I like this little. It's got a little runes on there, but it's the Hobbit map, and just generally lovely editions. With all the Tolkien illustrations in. And I just love the actual sort of coloured printing on the pages and stuff. It's just really nice. Yeah, so now I've completed my collection there. Next, two books that I picked up when I was buying my Secret Santa, because at my work we do Secret Santa, but you have to buy it from a charity shop, and that just means I just get books for people, but I got some books for myself as well. The first thing I found was this Kate Bush little biography, or this Kate Bush and Strange Art of Pop Secret History. I bought this mainly because it's got beautiful pictures in it. It's not very long. It's just about her life and stuff. I don't think it's very well regarded by Kate Bush fans generally as a biography, but it's worth it just for the photography in here for me. It's lovely, but I'll give it a read at some point. The second book I picked up for myself is a book I already owned, but I gave it away, and that's the First 15 Lives of Harry August, which is one of my favourite kind of not time travel, but one of my favourite books that plays with time. This is about a guy who relives his life. So, but I just absolutely loved it when I read it, and I need to reread it at some point. So those were my charity shop ones. Let's go through my eBay ones. I got the next Miss Marple that I haven't read, The Moving Finger, and I kind of I watched Tilly from Tilly Shelf do her sort of roundup of all of the Agatha Christie she read last month, and it got me really in the mood for Miss Marple. So I've read The Body in the Library, which is one that I hadn't read, the second Miss Marple, and this is the third Miss Marple. I've also got The Fabulous Riverboat by Philip Jose Farmer, and this is the second book in the Riverworld series. I read the first one with Gavin at Genre Books recently and really enjoyed it. Gavin's already read the second one, and I think he's going on with the series, so I'm gonna plough on as well. But yeah, this one's following Mark Twain in the afterlife. This next one I can't remember much about, but I bought it for Mary Andrea at Books and Bookadillos book club. She's doing a book club next year, and this is one of the choices, and they're all sort of Latin-y writers, but it's The Invisible Life of Eurydice Gusmao, by Martha Balatha. I'm hoping it's better than The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which was rubbish. But yeah, it'll be fun to read this with some people with Mary Andrea. I think in April. I can't remember which month it is, but it's a very fun cover. The next two are also buddy reads, and it's just the last two books in the Boudica series. So, Dreaming the Serpent Spear and Dreaming the Hound. And now I've got three of these in hardback and one in paperback, which is really annoying. So I might have to re-buy the first one in hardback, even though I already have that on Kindle as well. So I'll have three copies, but then I can give it away because I love the series. So that's that. Last, we're going to finish with the two books I got for Secret Santa, which I don't really know much about. This one, The Miniaturist, sounds interesting. I really like the cover as well, the sort of old people, old-timey people. It looks like historical fiction though, so it sounds good. I like historical fiction, so I think this is a good choice. And Sarah from Your True Shelf said this was good. And the other one is Robert Galbraith, The Cuckoo's Calling. I'm quite curious about this. I read the first Harry Potter book when it came out when I was a teenager, or 13 or something. But I was already a big fantasy reader by then, and I wasn't very impressed by it. I tend to agree with Ursula Le Guin, who said it was mediocre and mean-spirited. But I just find I have watched all the Harry Potter movies, and I just find it to be such a direct rip-off of Lord of the Rings, mixed with a rip-off of Ursula K. Le Guin's The Wizard of Earthsea. But it annoys me that she never sort of admits that. But yeah, mystery books are more up my street, so maybe I'll like that one. It'll be good. I'll find out anyway. Let's go through some of the books I've been reading then. I can't remember why I picked this book up. I think I was just in the mood for something quite light. Oh yeah, I remember, because I read a book I hated, and then I was like, I need to read something sort of light and enjoyable that's going to be inoffensive. So I picked up Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and this is, I imagine, very popular on BookTube. Emily Henry in general, I find, has a genius for naming her books things that will sell a lot of copies. Like, I think she's got one called Beach Read, which is just genius marketing, because if you see that in an airport, you're going to buy it when you're going on holiday. And Book Lovers obviously appeals to a lot of people. I've never read an Emily Henry before though, and I found this pretty well done. I thought it was an interesting romance, because you're never in doubt who the romance is going to be between, and basically, but it's still quite a compelling read, even though you know what, I guess with most romances you know what's going to happen, but sometimes there's a bit of, like, Jane Austen always flips it a bit. But this is about a woman who's sort of very highly strung, career orientated woman, and her sister, who is pregnant and has two small children, and they were like best friends with their mother, and they lived above a bookshop when they were younger, and their mother died, and the sister that we follow, I can't remember her name, but she's the very career orientated one in publishing. She works, she kind of looks after the younger sister and kind of acts as a surrogate mother sort of thing. And in this, they decide to take a holiday and go to the place that a book is set that has been a big hit book for the publishing girl. I just looked up her name. It's Nora, so I don't have to say publishing girl. Yeah, Nora's the she's like an agent, a writer's agent. So her clients had a big hit about this place called Sunshine something. I can't remember. Sunshine Falls, I think it's called. And she before it was a big hit, she took it to this sort of well-known editor who is kind of renowned in the industry for being brilliant but quite hard to deal with, and he's called Charlie. And he was like, "This is unrealistic. But the Sunshine Falls place does not exist." So it's interesting that when she gets to Sunshine Falls with her sister, she sees that Charlie is there, and she's like, "Why is this guy here who rejected editing this book because he said it was unrealistic, but yet he's here as well?" And Sunshine Falls is kind of not as idealistic as it's portrayed in the book. It's a bit sort of a run-down town, and then obviously a romance occurs. But I thought it dealt with sort of the characters' internal issues and stuff very well, and their life issues and stuff. One thing that did annoy me is the younger sister is portrayed as being quite poor and never having money or anything, and she refuses to accept money from her sister to help and stuff, and they live in this like tiny apartment in New York and can't afford anywhere bigger. Yet she's heavily pregnant with 2 young children and can afford to go on holiday for a month and pay for her sister's flight as well. It doesn't make any sense. Like, if anyone I knew was heavily pregnant and had 2 young kids and said, "I'm going on holiday for a month, look after the kids," they'd be like, "Are you mental? I'm not looking after our children for a month." And vice versa. Yeah, but it just seemed unrealistic. I'm guessing Emily Henry herself didn't grow up poor, because you don't go on holiday for a month when you're poor. But yeah, I really enjoyed it generally as a book, and I'd happily read more Emily Henry books. And there was lots of nice little literary references and Jane Austen-y references in there as well, which was fun. The next book I read was a reread for me, and that's Z for Zachariah by Robert C. O'Brien. He's also the author of Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of Nim. But this is no Mrs. Frisby, and this is dark kind of book. And this is kind of the book that got me into science fiction, because I had this at this is a school copy from my secondary school that my brother stole, and I had read this before I even went to secondary school, which is a young adult book, but it's a young adult book in sort of the old school 70s 80s young adult style, where there's some pretty grim stuff in here. And it's about a girl who lives in a valley after the apocalypse, and everyone else in her family has gone off and died. Like they've gone off to see how other people are and been killed by the fallout. Generally, the nuclear stuff in this is not very accurate. I think, because you can tell from the writing they don't know a lot about radiation sickness and stuff. And basically, she lives in this valley alone on a farm, or sort of little farm, and one day a man comes into the valley wearing a sort of a hazmat suit, although in this book it's the only hazmat suit in the world because it's just been developed. And I'm guessing this was before hazmat suits existed and stuff. And it's about sort of her dealings with the man and their kind of, I won't say relationship, but she sees him swimming in a river that she knows is poisoned, because all the fish and stuff are dead in there. But it's misleading because in the valley there's two rivers and they're not connected, and one's fine and one's poisonous. So he didn't notice, and she kind of has to nurse him to health and stuff. But it's quite a brutal survivalist sort of book, and the man talks in his sleep and reveals things that sort of reveal that he might not be such a nice guy. And yeah, I loved this book when I was a kid, and it really got me into post-apocalyptic fiction. And I was kind of worried about rereading it because I thought it might not live up to my memories, but I thought it was really good still. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, it's brutal compared to what modern YA would be. Although if it was a modern YA, she'd fall in love with the horrible man, wouldn't she? Next, we're reading. I read "O Pioneers" by Willa Cather, which is an author I want to read more of, generally because I read My Antonia last year. It was the first Willa Cather I'd ever read, and I loved it. It was in my top 10. So I went back to the beginning of this. It's called the Plains trilogy. They're unrelated. I kind of don't like it when they call things a trilogy when they're unrelated. But Opine was her first real novel. I think she'd written one before, but it didn't really do anything. And this was kind of a big success, I think. And it has similar themes to My Antonia in that it follows immigrant families in America in the pioneering days. I think this is set 1880s maybe, and obviously a lot of families back then were immigrant families, and this follows a Swedish family, and it's again unusual in that the leader of the family is a woman, and this whole book is very kind of quite feminist in how strong the female characters are. Same with My Antonia, for the time it was written, I guess, which I think is about 1910. So it's about, at the beginning, their father's dying, and the sons are kind of a bit dopey, and the father's like, you have to listen to your sister has to be in charge, and like she's really smart and you're all dopes basically. And her name's Alexandra, and she has kind of a little friend who is nearby, and a much younger brother who they have hopes for to go off to college and stuff. But first their farm has to be profitable and stuff, and this book takes place over about 20 years, and it sort of jumps forward to when they're a bit more prosperous, and she has adopted modern farming techniques and things that their brothers would never have done. And I love all this farming stuff because I love like Stardew Valley and Farming Simulator and games like that. So I find it really fascinating in books when there's farming. But the main story is about kind of her life and how she kind of gives up everything personal for the good of her family and the community and stuff. And then later, her boy comes back, who's in the beginning of the book, and her brothers are like, get this guy away. Like, they don't trust him and stuff. But yeah, I don't want to go too much into plot details, but it wasn't quite as good as My Antonia for me, because I think she develops her language later on, but still, this is still beautifully written, and the way she works about the land is incredible. But yeah, I think I still gave it 5 stars. I like both books have been 5 stars for me, and I just want to continue reading all of her books now. I think some people complain that her books are a bit plotless or aimless, but I don't think that's necessarily true. I think there is a kind of story arc to this book, and yeah, but it's not the most important thing about the book. It's the writing and the characters and everything are brilliant. After that, I read, which I briefly mentioned, The Body in the Library, which is it's actually the third Miss Marple. I don't know why I thought it was the second. Maybe the second's a smaller one. Which is a Miss Marple where it's sort of set just outside of St Mary Mead, I think, and this kind of rich family finds a dead body in their library of a young woman who sort of all dolled up and stuff in a dress and lots of makeup, and obviously they don't know who it is, and they're friends with Miss Marple, and it's sort of revealed that this woman was working in a nearby hotel, and then the investigation goes to the hotel, and they're looking at this sort of rich, powerful man who's had his legs amputated in an accident, and his family were all killed, and he now lives with the two partners of his two children that died, and all of a sudden he'd had this kind of friendship with this young girl who's been killed and found in the library, and so there's money involved as always, and he'd changed his will, again a classic mystery novel trope, the will. He changed his will to include her, and then all of a sudden she's turned up dead, but weirdly in someone else's house, and Miss Marple gets involved. I didn't think this was one of the best Miss Marples. It felt too short, so you didn't really get into it. And then when the reveal was revealed, it was too complicated for me, because the book was so short. It wasn't one of those ones where I thought, I probably could have worked that out, but I never do. And this one I thought that would have been pretty hard to work out. But yeah, I think the general consensus of the Miss Marple ones get better as they go on, and I have really loved, what is it, the 3:10 to Paddington? That's the later one that I've read. So, but I do want to read all the Miss Marple, so I'll continue on, and I've got that next one now. Yep. So, briefly, what I'm reading now is more news from Thrush Green, which is the third book in the Thrush Green series by Miss Reed. I love this cover. I just wanted something quite wintry in this and easygoing, so this is what I'm reading. I'm still reading the Boudica series with Sarah, and the audiobook I'm listening to right now I'm really loving as well, which is called Trouble Boys, which is about a band from Minneapolis called The Replacements, who were like an 80s sort of post-punk rock and roll band. They're really absolutely mental characters, so I'm really enjoying that on my morning runs, and I'll do a big review of that when I'm finished it. But yeah, if you've read any of these books, BookTube, especially the 10 I've bought in, let me know, and have a good one. Bye.